Okay, so what happens when an autonomous vehicle gets pulled over? Because that happened in San Bruno. I always thought that the companies are the ones issued the ticket, but it turns out that is not the case. Let's talk about it. Nobody gets ticketed, apparently. Under the current law, and as it states, somebody has to be there. A driver has to be there in order to get ticketed for a moving violation. Now, we've seen autonomous vehicles break laws before and get pulled over. I always assumed, again, that the ticket goes to the corporate overlord that owns the fleet of autonomous vehicles, and that's just not the case. And we know this to be true because in San Bruno, here in California, actually, police pulled over a Waymo after it made an illegal U-turn directly in front of them, says the officer themselves. And officers did pull the car over, but the sergeant that did so explains, quote, there was no mechanism available to issue a traditional moving violation citation since current laws require a human driver. Yeah, literally, the officer goes on to say if it was a parking violation, they could leave a ticket with the unattended vehicle, but that is not what happened here. It was a moving violation with no driver. Welcome to 2025 conundrums where policies are way behind what is actually happening on the streets of our cities. For now, they can only report incidents to like their admin, and that gets bumped up through, I don't know, admin channels of some kind, and maybe that gets sent over to corporate. I don't know exactly how that works, but next year, California will let police actually forward those violations to the DMV, but the DMV is also trying to figure out, like, what are they supposed to do about it? Here's a quote, how those violations will be processed at the DMV, and what potential penalties could apply are still up in the air. This means until the law catches up, billion-dollar corporations get a totally free pass on operating these fleets of autonomously driven vehicles in our cities, but us humans operating vehicles into that city will still get points on our license. We will rack up enough points, and if we do that, we will lose our licenses. However, these autonomous vehicles and these billion-dollar corporations, they don't have to worry about that yet. So I guess the takeaway here is in 2025, humans will get the violations, but autonomously driven vehicles, they won't. And honestly, if this isn't making you kind of upset, it should. It should. This is ridiculous. What do you mean that autonomous vehicle could pretty much do whatever they want moving violation? It is crazy to think about there's no mechanisms in place to protect the citizens from these autonomous vehicles. God forbid something did go wrong. And they do go wrong. Accidents happen. Anyway, this story was a little horrific. Again, I always thought that someone was getting ticketed, but I guess there's no consequence except a vague report to some admin that we don't know about or how it exists. I still can't believe there's no mechanism for this. Anyway, until next time, I'm V. I'll see you in the ether.